Lotto with VC, I don't mind them actually, Benji. If you don't think you have the train to do like the lead out like Ricard and Van der Poel, then I don't mind them moving De Lee into position early actually with Campenaerts and co.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it looks like Lotto were too early, but in the end, I actually think moving De Lee up early is not a bad idea. And then 1K to go, we see, well, what I thought looked like a very reminiscent sign from previous years. Alpecin de Koenig, 3 lead-out men, including Van der Poel, Jasper Philipsen on the wheel. You're thinking 100,000 meters left. That's more than enough firepower. The Alpecin train, I got to say, did not do what I expected. I thought they were going to blow everybody apart into the final bend and launch Philipsen because, yeah, Van der Poel would launch him into... You want to be on the right bend?
Yeah.
Getting launched on the inside because that's the quickest line. And what did you see from the other trains? It looked like to me, even Arkea, I don't know who it was, maybe Dan McClay, they waved over Van der Poel when when it was time for Van der Poel to launch. He really didn't have it.
Yeah, exactly. It was Dan McClay that hit the front, and then Van der Poel had like a 3-second sprint, I think, in the leader. He wasn't part of it too much. And with that Alpecin train as well, they spend a lot of energy moving up on the left side. And then with 4 riders, like you mentioned, and the order was seemingly different than I anticipated because I would expect Ricard to be the 3rd last rider. Ricard was the 4th last rider today, I think.
Yeah.
Because he went off the front, and then the 3rd last rider didn't really manage to do
Robbie Gijs.
much to get them to the front even more. And then Van der Poel tried as well, but it was Philipsen kind of stayed in the same spot while all this was happening. He's not actually in a terrible spot.
No,
I'd say he's on the 2nd or 3rd row right now of like...
It's a winnable position.
3 riders up per row, so he's in a good position. But other sprint teams, I'm looking at Cav, and he's kind of... Mercu brought him into a manageable position, and he's kind of wheel surfing now in the last 600 meters, 700 meters.
Well, Mercu actually got chopped out of it, and I think it was Bol in front of him.
Oh, okay.
Mercu couldn't do anything for Cav today in the end. And Cavendish, I don't know, this was like... Remember in Bahrain, it was really bad. He really like he didn't have his nerve anymore to fight in the sprints in that year where he had a terrible year.
Yeah.
Then there was the other year then he quick step resurgence. He was back, but he also had the mutant lead out train that just like went 1, 2, 3, bang. And he didn't really have to fight as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to Astana, and there was some times where he's like, he's really not fighting for that wheel. Today, this was like,
mate,
he was locked in. He's gone left following the fast train. He sees Ackerman is the quick line who's about to do the lead out. The right-hand side around the bend is the fast way. And he just, Philipsen had the winning position.
Yep.
The winning position was Ackerman's wheel, who was going to launch you on the right-hand side. And he just moves over Philipsen, and Philipsen yields that wheel, not even a fight. Last year, Philipsen gives the big don't argue to Cavendish, for better or worse, and he keeps Ackerman's wheel, and that was the sprint. Cav takes it, gets into the wheel, jumps left, clean pair of hills, reminded me of his UAE sprint when he won ahead of Philipsen maybe in 22, 21, and jumps left. Philipsen's in his wheel, he's still in his wheel, and he's not coming out of it, and Cavendish beats him by a bike length after swinging to the left-hand barriers, cutting off the draft. There's a big crash behind with the wave effect. Cav moves left, Philipsen moves left, Christoph moves left. They're all fine, but then bang, 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 down the line. Basically, Pedersen gets chopped out of it, I think not really, Bennett didn't really chop him, that has just happened with the wave effect of a guy moving. Pedersen hits the barriers really, really hard. Talented young French rider Axel Zangler on Cofidis.
Mate.
Bunny hops him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was looking at like...
Mid-sprint, a lead-out rider for Kokar, jumping over Pedersen's head, basically, while he's laying on the ground after crashing into the barriers. That is one of the craziest things I've seen when it comes to bunny hop, because we all know the famous bunny hops of Peter Sagan of Cancellara Sagan over Cancellara?
Yeah, pretty sure, yeah.
In Roubaix, multiple others that I can remember, but this is visibly one of the craziest ones, because it's like in the moment, it's in the sprint. Yes, Zangler's job is done. He's not sprinting anymore.
Are you sure?
He's got to get those UCI points.
I'm not sure he was doing a lead out, but yeah.
I think he was there for the lead out in the first place.
Maybe, yeah.
Because Kokar was in a good position. I didn't look at Cofidis the entire time. I'll be honest about that. But it's also just a very chaotic sprint, in my opinion, because there's no all-out lead-out this year.
No.
We saw it in the first sprint stage. We saw it in this one. There's no Alpecins that is dominating the lead-out. We've got Stuyven and Gibbons at the front at a certain point before we get what you said happening. So it's visibly very chaotic, and you'd say, okay, that's a terrain in which Bauhaus is good, but then it comes into play that Cavendish was also shouldering Bauhaus out of a position to get that position to freewheel. Like, we've had moments in the past where Cavendish went a bit too far with his head and so forth. I gotta be honest, it was a pretty solid shoulder barge towards Bauhaus, but for the sake of the 35th, I'm going to pretend I didn't see it.
I mean, Bauhaus has given some big don't argues to Ewan. And
but
that doesn't make it two wrongs, don't make it right. To be honest, from what Cavendish today, I don't think crossed the line.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
He kept his head straight and his elbows generally straight, and he moved into positions. Yeah, okay, is he chopping guys out a bit? Maybe, but also Philipsen, I think he kind of yielded that wheel. So
I don't know if it's yielding. It's as if the Arkea rider McLeay moves backwards as Philipsen has to come around, and Cavendish kind of has a better line going into it. So it's half yielding, half Cavendish had the advantage to begin with for the wheel of Ackermann. But anyway, regardless, very impressive wheel surfing by Cavendish, and he's one of those riders that has been the most impressive when it comes to those. But before we jump into the was any move in the sprint dangerous, we got to talk about Cavendish a bit. Eh? What is your first memory of Cavendish? Because I started watching cycling in the 2005 to 2010 era because I was a pro cycling manager gamer, went into let's actually watch a cycling race phase with Tom Bonen and so forth. But 2009, 2010 was really the years where I started hammering, always watching cycling, and that is peak HTC Columbia, HTC High Road lead-outs for Cavendish. Those were like the solid sprint trains that you saw on the Champs-Élysées. The last kilometers dominated by a single team, Renshaw leading out Cavendish, but also in other races, Andre Greipel leading out Cavendish, I'm pretty sure, as well in 2011 or something. So super impressive. And I think the first image I have of Cavendish, the T-Mobile time, I don't remember. That's too early for me. But taking his glasses off, I think, while wearing the blue HTC Columbia kit, that's what I vividly remember.
I think I was a 2012 Sky baby because Cadell won in 2011. So mine's Cav on, I think winning on the, did he win on the Champs-Élysées in 2012 or no, Wiggins just did the lead out then?
Oof. I actually do not know. I'd have to take a look. 2012?
He did. He won stage 20 in Paris. So he won the Champs-Élysées sprint. That's my first memories. Cav and Sky also won GC with Wiggins ahead of Froome. So that's my first memory. But then
won Worlds too that year?
DNF.
Okay.
He won
2011.
2011, yeah, in Copenhagen. So, yeah, huge win for Cavendish, the 35th. To be honest, like, the record doesn't really mean it's like a cumulative record. It's a really fantastic achievement. It's like a maybe something that we thought might never be broken in a professional era. It's even more impressive to do it in the professional era as well. I kind of think what's more impressive is the fact that he's done it at 39 years old. Like, he's a freak. Like 39 years old, sprinters, half of them are not washed, but they're not at 30. Half of them are not good. Just they're past their peak.
Is he sprinting Valverde?
He kind of looks as good as that. Honestly, Benji, like he completely rinsed Philipsen today.
Yep.
He destroyed everybody. He won by a bike length. He got the perfect position. He didn't even have a good lead out.
Would you go as far as saying that it might not stop at 35 based on what you saw today?
Yeah, no, I'm saying he's the top 2 sprinter in this race. Like, Pedersen, I don't know the status on him. He just crashed at 70 kilometers an hour into a barrier and hit the deck. He's out. Van Aert didn't sprint today. Groenewegen can't position half the time. He had his chance on stage 3.
But so is Cav. He also can't position half of the time because of his team.
Yeah, well, I actually think Cav's lead out's not too bad.
Today was good.
Yeah, I think his lead out with Bol and Mercu Ballerini, and I think it's not too bad actually. And Renshaw in the car, but he with Philipsen crashing and not looking so quick, I think he can win more. And there's loads of sprints in this race too.
And it's not just that he does it at 39, but the stuff that happened in the last 2 years leading up to this victory as well. Because
crashed last year,
the Epstein Bar stuff, but also the interview that I really remember on Bahrain. Was it Gent-Wevelgem where he was kind of crying basically in the interview?
Yeah,
where he was like, okay, this might be my final race, and that was heartbreaking. That was genuinely heartbreaking, and it was then Quickstep that picked him up. Patrick Broe picked him up for Quickstep. Ended up winning valiantly on that team again. I still remember the calf to the Tour hype we started in the Tour of Turkey when he got that victory at Quickstep. That was a crazy period. But then last year he crashed out.
Yeah, collarbone.
He wasn't able to go for that, and now he comes out on stage 5 and does it. I gotta be honest, I was sitting on the couch with about 40 kilometers to go, and my opinion was Cavendish better wins today so we can finally stop talking about this 35.
Man, I mean, it was, incredible, to be honest. Like, just the way that, like, you could see it coming, the way he did it so easily in the end, and just, like, he'd never skipped a beat without the final, like, it's not like Mercu just launched him and dropped him off with 50 meters to go, like, in 2021 and said, there you go. And with Philipsen in the wheel, just really, really incredible stuff. And Astana, you saw Vinokurov in the interview of Cavendish, you know, how ecstatic he was. And Astana had like a cameo in the Netflix series because of Cavendish. They shoehorned them in basically for Cav. And you could see like it's all about Cavendish winning that stage. And the team, frankly, for points and the relegation battle not going well. And listen, this doesn't really help that much either. But it may help getting some money in to get some other riders to score some points next year. There's also rumors that almost actually broke today of a Chinese bike manufacturer maybe buying out the license of Astana, and certainly winning a Tour de France stage with Cavendish won't hurt with with marketing the team in that respect.
I vividly remember a rumor a few weeks ago already relating to something related to Asia when it comes to Astana that could have meant that there was a sponsor coming in from that area. So I feel like everything is pointing towards that. I think it was Cycling News that brought out an article, an exclusive Chinese brand, XDS Carbon Tech invests in Astana, Kazakhstan to create a new super team. That's an article that came out today by Dani Ostanek and Steven Ferrand. And based on that title alone, I'm happily seeing money being invested. And it's also, I also feel like we've got so many races in China, like Qinghai Lake, like Guangxi and so forth. Like Fuzhou, I think, is also a race that is going on there. Yeah. I'm going through my Conti Chinese races right now.
Just look at Mareshko's Palmares.
Facts.
Taihu Lake, Hainan, are they all in?
Taihu Lake is in China, yeah?
I'm just checking it's in China. Yes, in China. I was about to say... Langkawi is in Malaysia, no?
And there's also, when it comes to YouTube, I see more and more videos coming up about Chinese equipment brands and so forth. So it's like a whole market there that might want to tap into pro cycling as well if they see the opportunity in pro cycling to do so, because they have their stands at Tour of Guangxi there at the race. So I'm very curious if this is like a potential step forward for pro cycling to globalize a little more into that area. And in addition to that, wasn't there also like a rumor back in the day that a Chinese company would take over Lampre before UAE did?
Yeah, I think so. Before they became the richest team in the world, yeah.
But anyway, we've spoken about Astana a lot.
It makes sense. Like China's middle class, you know, that it's like what? China's middle class is the population size of the entirety of Europe, maybe more. I don't know. It's like over 700 million people or something. So
probably a bit of cyclists in there.
So yeah, there's going to be eventually some people that want to take up road cycling.
But lastly about CAF, I do want to ask everybody on YouTube, go into the comment section, tell us your favorite memory about Mark Cavendish. If it's this victory, maybe, could be, but it's definitely fun to see him winning. But about the sprint,
but it was vintage Cav just on the finish, like even down to the interview just being like awkward, you know.
Yeah.
It's so yeah, it was
It's like super chill.
yeah, chill, yeah. I think interviewers are a little bit, they know not to tread carefully around Cavendish sometimes in the interviews. But yeah, I should do the top 10, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Cavendish wins ahead of Jasper Philipsen, then Christoph third, De Lee fourth. That's actually better than I expected from him in a full bunch sprint again. So De Lee is overperforming. Jakobsen fifth, Ackermann sixth, Demar, Thijssen, Biniam Gomez eighth and ninth on the same team. Binny won the other day, but still strange to watch. Vandenberg 10th, and then Gaviria and Groenewegen were all out of position. And yeah, that's it.
One last thing about the sprint itself. I do the social media watch when it comes to these races every now and then, and there was quite a bit of talk about, this guy should be relegated, this guy should be relegated, especially when it comes to Cav at first and then Philipsen, because of the deviation that they did from the right side of the road to the left side of the road.
Yeah.
But to be clear, the deviation rule says specifically that you can't deviate if you endanger somebody. And the question then is, do you consider it endangering someone if you move to the left, don't hinder anybody, but then other people behind you decide to do the same because you do that, and as a consequence, they endanger someone? Sorry, but for me, that's a stretch. You can't blame the first rider that has open air and is doing that safely for those other riders following them and not doing that safely. But can you then blame Bennett and De Leaf for moving to the left in the wheels of those other people and hindering Pedersen that way? I don't know either. So it's as if there's like a bit of a question that the rule isn't answering.
Yeah, you can't ping. Pedersen the other day didn't get pinged for it when he went left and then swung all the way right.
Yeah.
And Cavendish today did the same thing, but he left space to the next guy. It's like, yeah, he left space to the next. Philipsen left space to the next guy. Philipsen went full swing.
Yeah.
And he got sanctioned for what last year he did it to Binny and nothing happened to him, right?
Philipsen?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he
I don't
swung.
think so. It was Van der Poel that got relegated.
No, I think also Philipsen chopped the shit out of Binny.
Yeah, but he didn't get relegated, is what I mean.
Yeah, and nothing happened to him. And he left enough space to Christoph, so it's like, well, really, it has to start with the top, which is when you launch your sprint, you cannot deviate from your lane you've chosen.
Okay.
And so that's and then remove the endangerment part. So then Cavendish launches his sprint. He has to sprint in a straight line. Then there is none of this waving and domino effect.
Yeah, but then another question about your rule that you just invented is, what happens? Okay, you've got Cavendish that's deciding to sprint at the front in a straight line. I'm in his wheel. There's a rider on my left. I deviate to the left to get out of the wheel of that sprinter or out of Cavendish, and I hinder that other rider. I haven't launched my sprint yet, but I am deviating and endangering a rider.
Well, yeah, then you've endangered someone, so then you should get pinged for it.
Yeah.
If you chop someone. But yeah, I'm getting it on PCS. I'm getting an advertisement for Bauhaus.
Well, an advertisement.
He's really distracted.
By the way, advertisement, is that like Australian pronunciation?
Is that advertisement? What do you say? Advertisement.
Advertisement.
Oh, I don't know how to speak English. But yeah, certainly like 2 sprints we've seen now where the riders at the front have safely swung and not chopped the next guy, but then the wave effect has caused a crash or nearly caused a crash. But yeah, big win for Cavendish. And I don't think he'll stop being competitive here. It was not luck. It was not luck that he won today. He was literally just the best.